Hey, what's going on, everybody? It's Luke Rojas here, and I just wanted to basically give my little review of Halloween Kills. I already said that I had low expectations for the movie, and I was kind of pleasantly surprised. Not really, because I want to say I liked it, but at the same time, there was so many problems with it that it really hindered my enjoyment. I thought the last Halloween one, Halloween 2018, which was supposed to be called Halloween Returns and would have been a better title, but now we have three movies called Halloween in this fucking super confusing franchise that is the Halloween franchise. But now we have Halloween Kills, and if I thought the last one was a little stupid, this one just goes full cheese, and I think that's what a lot of people were looking forward to. Me personally, that's just not what I'm about. Now, that don't get me wrong, I still think that this is a better, like a more scarier slasher film than something like Friday the 13th, Part 6 or some shit like that. I still think Michael Myers, he's an intimidating force. He's always going to be scary to me. Maybe not H2O and Resurrections versions of Michael Myers, because that version of him, I mean, they just fucking turned him into a joke. But for the most part, I've always been scared of Michael Myers. He is just, he's the definitive slasher in my opinion. I'm not as scared of Jason I wouldn't want to fucking walk into or some shit, but Michael is always going to be like my top fear. And in this movie, we have a flashback sequence that goes back to 1979 or 78 or whenever the fucking first movie came out. And this flashback I thought could have been the coolest part of the movie, and it ended up just being a meh part of the film. Like, I almost forgot that it happened. So we see Michael in his original mask, but it's not his original mask because you see his fucking eyes. You see his eyes in this movie, maybe not with the other mask they use, but the fucking first thing you see of him when you get a full shot of him, and it's like not covered in darkness or whatever, and he's in his house, you see his eyes. It's the same problem I had with H2O. It's the same problem I had with Resurrection, where you can see the fucking Michael Myers eyes. And Michael Myers is he's not human. He's a supernatural being, despite, well, he's actually a human. There's never been anything saying he's supernatural. The guy survives getting shot 100 fucking times and getting hit and with fucking chainsaws and stuff like that, and survives a fucking explosion or a fire or whatever. The guy's obviously supernatural. I don't want to see his eyes because that humanizes him. And you see his eyes when in the flashback, and for a second I was like, oh, is that someone dressing up like him? It's like, no, wait, no one knows who Michael Myers was in 1978, so that wouldn't make any sense. And it's a pretty pointless flashback because all it does is serve to show us that how Michael got captured all those 40 years ago. And it's just like, I rather watch Halloween 2, because Halloween 2 had a pretty better alternative, what happened after that, the first one. Like, I think Halloween 2 gets slept on by a lot of people. It's the best one of any of these Halloween sequels, including this one and the last one. The fact that there's so many stupid people in this movie is another thing I'm gonna complain about. So they're all like, let's all team up. We gotta beat Michael Myers. Let's split up into fours for some reason. Like, 4 people is gonna beat Michael Myers. Well, one of us got a gun, even though we already know that guns aren't that effective on him. Like, what? And they all fight him like they don't know anything about him. They all fight him like he's a regular guy. At some point, they're just like, oh yeah, oh wait, oh shit, I forgot it's Michael Myers. Oh, I'm dead. Fucking, at one point, they're like, he's going home. Michael, that's what he does. He kills, or he creeps, he kills, then he goes home. And then their decision is to, this guy with his son and his son's girlfriend is like, Let's just drive to his house. You guys stay put. I'll deal with him alone. Why not? Here's an idea. Why not call all of the fucking people that are going on this Michael Myers hunt with you too, that have split up? Call them and be like, yo, I know where Michael's heading at. All right, I know where he's going. And then you all just swarm him. But instead, they do the stupidest shit where they all just separate and attack him. And eventually, near the end, it's like everybody versus Michael, and they get some good shots, and you think he's done, but then he ends up getting back up, but the police are investigating, or the police are already there, like the scene has been wrapped. The whole ending to this movie makes no sense. I'm going to tell you that right now. I was so confused of what was going on. Did he survive? Did he not? Because it looked like when they showed the police and the mom and the daughter, like everything had been cleared up, and like, okay, Michael's done. He's killed. But instead, it's like it's really fucking confusing how they show this. So instead, Michael's on the ground because they all beat him up, and they all decide, hey, you know what? He's dead. How about, here's an idea. Cut off his fucking head, shoot him 400 times, kick him like 600 times, just keep beating him for an hour, and if he starts to twitch, just run in the opposite direction, because that's probably the smartest fucking decision. But they all stupidly beat him up with like, okay, guys, okay. At one point, someone has to say, enough. Like, why? Just keep beating him up. And then another point, randomly, a cop decides to stop. It's a flashback. The cop from the last movie decides to. He's alive somehow by getting his throat slit. I don't even know how that's possible, but whatever. He decided to stop another. He stopped Loomis. Sorry, I'm fucking stupid. He stopped Loomis from shooting Michael Myers in the head, and Loomis is in the movie as a bad CGI effect. They might as well as just not have him in the fucking movie. I mean, Dr. Loomis. I'll get back to that. But anyway, the guy for some reason stops Loomis from shooting him in the head, and then it's like, why though? Because didn't he just kill your partner? Like, what are you talking? Why would you stop? Doesn't even make any sense. They were just like, oh, we need a reason why Michael didn't get shot immediately by Loomis. But with Dr. Loomis, they just have him in here for a cameo, and it's not even a real cameo because Donald Pleasence is dead, so they had to get a CGI version of Donald Pleasence with a fucking bad voice actor. Did Michael kill again? Did Michael kill? That's how he fucking talks. How the fuck do you have Dr. Loomis in your movie and just have him in for a minute? And the fact that no one talks about him. I would think that Laurie would probably be talking about Dr. Loomis more often, especially in the last movie, because he did save her fucking life from Michael Myers, and he was like the only one who kind of understood what Michael Myers was. But instead, they never talk, they barely reference him. I think the nurse from the first movie, she had a traumatic experience with Michael Myers because he touched her face. And they have this thing like, she survived an attack from Michael Myers, and it shows a flashback of her getting her face touched by Michael Myers in the car, and it's like, wow, that's a bit of a stretch, don't you think? I really wouldn't say that's an encounter with Michael Myers. His hand touched your face, so now you get to go to the survivors meeting. They were just like, did we really have to invite her? She didn't really come face to face with him in the mask and everything. Just let her. All right, just let her. She'll pay for the drinks. Anyway, yeah, so Dr. Loomis, though, is such an important character to the Halloween franchise. And the fact that they only have him in here for 2 minutes and nobody's really talking about what they should be looking for Dr. Loomis's notes and being like, Dr. Loomis, he's stated Michael Myers isn't even human. How do you defeat someone who isn't human? And then maybe they show a tape of Dr. Loomis interviewing, like, I don't know. You might as well not have him in the movie. That's the thing. If you're gonna have Dr. Loomis in the movie, for one, have him play a bigger part in the flashback sequence. You know, sure, he's CGI, but I'd fucking rather him do something. You see him for 2 seconds, and he's just like, did he kill again? And then he's gonna go shoot Michael in the head, and then the cop stops him. That's where they should have had a moment where just a classic Dr. Loomis moment where he's just going fucking nuts. He's just like, "You have to let me kill. He's evil. You have to let me extinguish the." Just like some crazy Dr. Loomis shit. But fucking what is it? Halloween Kill. What am I talking about? Oh, Halloween Kills. Yes. The kills they spoil about 60 to 70% of the kills in the trailer. I think in total he killed about 25, 26 people. It was just like a weird movie. Because the kills they were promising, I thought there was going to be like 40 people that were going to die. And it was fairly tamed, even though this is the biggest Halloween body count. It was fairly tame. Like, I don't know. There was long stretches of the movie where nobody got killed. And, by the way, this was a major complaint that Halloween 2 got, but this movie definitely deserves, because at least in Halloween 2, because Laurie Strode in Halloween 2 is in the hospital bed for most of the movie, but in this movie, she is in the hospital for the entire movie. She is in the hospital. At least in Halloween 2, she beat Michael Myers. She shot him in the eyes, and she did something at the end. In this movie, I don't know what was going on. Maybe they couldn't get Jamie Lee Curtis to film shit. I don't know. She's not in it she's only in it for like, in total, 6 minutes. Maybe 7 minutes. And it's just her going, I beat Michael Myers. Actually, he's alive. What? Oh, I'm injured. Let me lay back down. And then says some shit like, I thought he was human, even though I stabbed him multiple times and I saw him get shot, and yet he survived. And for some reason, I thought he was a human being to this day, until he decided to survive a fire. It's like, no shit, Laurie, you fucking idiot. Like, what did you think he was? Did you think he was just like a regular guy? Like, I don't understand that. The fact that this was like, this dawned on her. Oh, he's not human. Shit. Should have guessed that when I stabbed him and I saw Loomis shoot him. You fucking idiot. What else? What else was... I like the fact that the whole town was going after Myers. I thought that was a really cool thing. I like that it really shows the effects that Michael's killings have. Just like everybody is in panic, everybody's crying. But then they do this stupid scene where they're chasing a lunatic who looks nothing like Michael Myers, is short and fat and bald. Even though they already know Michael is dressed up in a blue boiler suit and has a mask, but nevertheless, he's also talking and running. Tommy Doyle knows what the fuck Michael Myers looks like and knows his mannerisms and knows the guy doesn't fucking talk. But this guy is cowering. He's like, no, don't touch me. And they're all chasing after him. And it's like, see what the madness of Michael Myers, they're turning the people of Haddonfield, the killings are turning the people of Haddonfield into monsters. It's like, no, it's turning them apparently into morons, because he looks nothing like Michael Myers. Nothing at all. I'm gonna take these fucking things off. He looks nothing like Michael Myers, but they're gonna chase him, and it's so they can have this stupid, dumb message like, he's turning us into monsters now. They even say it. They legitimately say, he's turning us into monsters now. Thanks, I wouldn't have gotten that. And I don't like that because, one, they constantly have to remind you in this movie, but it's always been a fact, that Michael Myers is the epitome of evil. He's pure evil. He's pure, unmoving, fucking unemotional. He's just evil. Yet, now there's a morality thing where they're turning, who's the real monsters? It's Michael Myers who's the real monster. He killed fucking like 26 people in the movie. Yeah, who's the real monster? Michael. He's the monster, you fucking idiots. Like, stupid hammy message there that makes no sense. And it was so pointless. It was just like, it was almost like, oh shit, we wrote this in the script and we've already filmed. For some reason, the guy who's doing it has an accent. What do we do? Yeah, just have him where he jumps off the building, and we'll just try to force some stupid heavy-handed message where they're all turning into monsters. Okay. And then, so I'm gonna get into spoilers. There's one point in the movie, I've pretty much spoiled it already, but there's one point in the movie where this gay couple who lives in Michael Myers' house, even though they already know that Michael Myers is a supernatural being who got stabbed and blah, blah, blah. By the way, news apparently doesn't travel around in this town because there's a bunch of notifications that go off on people's phones where they find out that Michael Myers is alive. But apparently this gay couple that lives in Michael Myers' house did not get these notifications and did not watch the fucking news and didn't even realize that Michael Myers had escaped. The people who live in his fucking house didn't know this. They are the stupidest characters. Because, like, not because they try to do some forced gay shit where it's like LGBTQ. No, I think all the shit with the, there was no SJW message. A lot of people saying there was going to be some SJW thing. I didn't really get that from this movie. But they're living in his house, and they scare off some kids who prank them. And they're like, don't you know whose house this is? Well, it's like, well, apparently you don't, because you don't even know that the guy fucking escaped, even though it was on your phone, you fucking idiots. Michael comes there, and they hear him upstairs, and they're like, somebody's in our house, and it's not a child. It's a bloody handprint, and you know whose house it is. What do we do? So one of them grabs this little tiny cheese or fruit knife, and the other grabs like a butcher's knife, and they're like, let's go. We're gonna split up. And obvious thing happens. The guys get killed. Actually, one of them gets killed, and then the other one, who's from Mad TV, he's like, Michael, you've come home. It's like, well, first of all, your boyfriend's dead, or your husband's dead. Does that not fucking piss you off? Does that not make you sad? But second of all, Michael is facing the window. He's looking out the window, back turned. He had given these guys so many opportunities to just leave his house, and he looks back at him after he says some shit, and he's like, what are you still doing here? He gives him that look, like, are you still fucking here? Like, you guys could have left downstairs. I had to kill this guy because he was an idiot. Came at me with a fucking fruit knife. And by the way, Michael stares at him for at least 30 seconds or 20-something seconds. I don't know. And there's a wide open door right next to the other guy. And Michael's like 40 feet away from him. And then you see they cut to an establishing shot or whatever of the house, and you see Michael slowly walk towards him, and the guy goes and gets killed. It's like, what are you doing? Just fucking run away. He gave you like 30 opportunities, and so now we're supposed to feel bad that he got murdered. I don't. The only time I was like genuinely like really terrified I'm still scared of Michael in this movie. I think he was really scary, but just his presence is scary. I don't think the movie itself was scary, if you know what I mean. But there was one really, really horrific scene that I thought was like probably the best kill, and it was the couple that you see, and they ruin it in the trailer, but the couple, they see Michael Myers, and they're like, oh shit, call the cops, he's wearing a fucking monster mask, and the guy gets murdered. And then she's trying to unlock the door, but she sees that he's like right there, and she's like, oh fuck. And she's so terrified that she isn't gonna do that stupid shit where she turns her back. Cause she's like, she just grabs a knife and she's like, okay, I already know that I'm gonna die. She basically would. But Michael at this point walks to the kitchen slowly, takes a light, breaks it. At that point you go, oh shit, this is my chance to open it. But she's so terrified. But you kind of get that. It makes sense that you would be terrified when you see this shit happening. Your husband's murdered, so you're probably going to be frozen in shock. But the other guy was just straight up stupid because he didn't look like he was scared at all. He just looked like, wow, you've come home, Michael. That's kind of crazy. Oh shit, my husband's dead. That's, oh fuck. Man. It almost looked like he wanted to die. Like, what what the fuck was going on with that stupid scene? And also the tone of this movie is just so confused. It wants to be a horror movie, but then it wants to be a comedy movie. It feels like sometimes you're watching a comedy movie. Like when they go to the bar for the first time, it doesn't even feel like it's the same movie. And then when they have the scene of the fucking crazy guy, they think it's Michael Myers in this car, and and he crashes the car, and they're like, "Oh shit, he escaped!" But then it turns out it's Michael Myers, and he's just like, "Ow!" It's not Michael Myers. It's just some crazy lunatic that escaped that kills himself later, and he's like, he looks like Danny DeVito. That was such a stupid scene. This movie was very dumb, but it also had some cool moments. Spoiler alert: the mom, not Jamie Lee Curtis, Karen. I don't know why they had to call her Karen. Why didn't they just call her Jamie Lloyd, or just Jamie? You know, because Halloween 4, Laurie's daughter was Jamie, but they have to make everything new because these new Halloween movies, they don't like the sequels or something, even though they rip off a bunch of shit from the sequels. I mean, this whole plot was basically just a retconned or a revitalized version of Halloween 4's plot. What else? And the last movie was H2O, just better. So, you know, I'm so kind of sick of them trying to like separate themselves from the rest of the series when all they do is steal from the rest of the series. I mean, most of the kills of the last movie were just straight out of the sequels. So, but Karen gets murdered in that really confusing ending sequence that makes no sense. I don't even... What happened? So did he survive getting beat up by all those people, then went to the house? But why were the cops there like the scene had already been closed up and he had been defeated? Makes no sense, that ending. Like, look at the editing, or just look at how the whole scene itself is it just makes no sense. It's confusing. It's really confusing. Yeah, so that's my thought about Halloween Kills. If you're into just stupid, dumb murders, you know, you're going to get that. But a lot of the times you're going to get the frustration that comes with a lot of these horror movies that I didn't even think was in the last Halloween. Well, I thought that was a stupid movie. Or not stupid. I just kind of thought it was dumb, but not like full on stupid. And I did find enjoyment of it from it, even though it was mild enjoyment. This movie is just complete. All of the cliches are just tenfold here. Like, all the cliches you can think of in a horror film, most of them are pretty much just fucking like just smashed into one film. All the characters are stupid. There's just like, for some reason, nobody decides. There's only one person who decides to run away from Michael Myers when he's chasing them. Or, you know, and it's just like, doesn't make any... really, the plot of this is just ripped out of Halloween 4. But even Halloween 4, let me tell you something. Even though Halloween 4 had one of the worst masks, Dr. Loomis, Donald Pleasance, he makes that movie. Just like he made all the other sequels he was in, even though they were all shit, they were all amazing because Dr. Loomis was in it. And this movie needed a Dr. Loomis. This movie did not need 700 characters going, Michael Myers, he's pure evil, he needs to die. No, because back in the other movies, they only had one character do that, and it was the character who knew him the most. It was the character who was probably the most knowledgeable one in the entire film, not just on Michael Myers, but in general, and that was Dr. Loomis. He was the only one being like, you can't kill him. He's more than human. You need to destroy him. Some shit like that. And you would hear him say shit like that. You hear Dr. Loomis and you'd be like, wow, that gives Michael Myers a sense of legitimacy. But when some random Joe Schmo is like, Michael Myers is pure evil. Like, who the fuck are you? Like, where did you come from? I don't know you. You know? And then there's one character who's like the cop from 40 years ago whose daughter got killed. And he's just randomly in the movie. He's like, my daughter got killed by Michael Myers. And they're like, okay, Joe, just shut your fucking face. Nobody's talking to you. There was one thing that I really wanted to talk about, but it's kind of slipped my... Oh, yeah. So everybody's going on and on and on about how evil Michael Myers is. How evil he is. I don't know why I have a southern accent now. To the point where it got ridiculous because even though they all know he's pure evil and he's this unstoppable force, they don't decide to kill him for some reason. And, you know, it's just really fucking stupid. But that's my review of Halloween Kills. I'm sorry, I got a little distracted. Some shit happened. You know, it was an alright movie. It really wasn't that alright. It was just kind of whatever. You know, there's some things that I liked about it, but mostly it was just kind of really dumb. Michael Myers, they're gonna just constantly have him coming back for more and more of these movies, even though these movies are supposed to be where it ends, and they're not like the other sequels. All they constantly do is just rip off from the other sequels and are just turning into the cliche horror sequels that they apparently want to be against. Like, I guess that was the whole thing with Halloween 2018, was that it was like kind of like not falling for the same tropes. This movie falls for all those tropes. So basically, I'd give it a 5 out of 10. If you're just going in there for dumb, you know, horror action, I guess is what you could call this, you know, go for it, you know. But if you're like looking for a legitimately scary movie and you're a huge fan of the first 2 Halloween movies because of their suspense, the fact that he's like always lurking, you're not going to get that from this movie, because that's one of the key elements of Halloween that even the later sequels have, is that he seemingly is always somewhere and he's always watching. Especially in that first movie, he's always watching. They'll just see him in the background, and he'll just be in that window looking at somebody. They don't have that in this movie. It's just, he shows up, he murders people, he walks around. He doesn't even look like he actively hunts people. If you just happen to be in his way, and you decide not to run for some fucking stupid reason, he'll kill you, basically.